Well, we are 2 minutes over the hour, so I want to go ahead and slowly get going. Um, for those of y'all that are new here, welcome. We generally just use this time for everyone in the community to talk about Aspen and go over topics that we've agreed on. So we can go ahead and start with our first topic, which is to circle back to the 245p and 245n conversation that we had like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So Mark's got some updates for us. I'll pass the mic.
Yeah. So we implemented it. Let's see, which is the right, that's the right screen. Okay. Yeah, 245p and N have been implemented as of the 2103 release. It turns out we actually were looking at the subfield N and subfield P, but they were frequently getting removed as things that we didn't think was important. So like we try to clear out like series name and book number and that kind of thing. But in this case, we had some that were important. So we basically, the update that we made was subfield N and subfield P will never be trimmed off the grouping title. So like swans, fawns and porters, love of quilting works properly now. We haven't seen any cases where that's causing problems that I know of. But if anybody has anything that they've seen, this all deployed last Thursday night. So if anyone has seen anything that they've noticed grouping that doesn't work as well now, or that is not grouping things that it should, let us know. We can continue to revise that. But it seems to be working really well for the ones that we didn't want to group. So we're thinking that's mainly going to be like movies, TV shows, magazines, comic books, those kind of things. So any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, James.
Can you give me an example of things? Because I still can't find anything, or I wasn't able to find anything, in test versus production when they were on different branches.
Fawns and porters for sure. So that was one that was grouping previously. So like there's the 1000 series. So there was the 1,900, 400. It's going to depend a lot on your individual cataloging. So
for us, this is Scott Brandwein from Swan. For us, the other huge impact this had was it untangled all of our television series. We had TV series that had 6 or 7 seasons all smushed up into one, and this really cleared that out, which was good.
Yeah. So 3rd series, 6th series, all of those. Yeah, the other thing that we did related to record grouping is utilize the 130s, the uniform title. And the main thing that that does is finally give us a good way to group movies together properly. So if we look at like King Kong, where we've got multiple remakes. So we've got King Kong. There's the newest one, older ones. There's another old one. So it finally groups those together just based off of the 130s. Because most of those, the 130, if we look into these, so the 130 for this is King Kong Motion Picture 2005. So that gives us finally a good way to look at the release date, which is really nice, or the theatrical release date. Recognize not everybody has the 130s in their catalog, but if you do, this works really well. And if you don't, it's a good good way to get things to group that might not otherwise. So one more tool besides manually grouping and ungrouping. Anything else you want to say on that, Scott? Or
just that I'm also really happy with this. I did go ahead. The example that came forward for us was A Star Is Born. There's 3 versions of that from, I don't know, the 30s on. And I had to go through and I went and I added that 130 to all of our Star Is Born records. There were a few that didn't have it. And it was worth that extra time because now everything is perfect, you know? So, and there's not too many movies out there that have these constant remakes. So it's not like you have to update everything in your database. So I think it's having that extra field is a small price to pay for having the really great grouping at the end of the day. Although I discovered today, and I'll talk to you about this, this also groups, we have about 400 different versions of the Bible in our consortium, and now they're all on one record, which, so it's kind of funny, but it's also maybe not great. So there's like, I think we can do some tweaking to this to include a little more information, but I will talk to you about that later.
So I gotta ask, does that make the Bible show up as the top result for almost every search?
It's not even, it's like number 4 on our 0 search. It's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets still beats it out, a couple things, but yeah, it's right there at towards the top.
Pride and Prejudice has always been.
Oh, 3.
Holy
Yeah, there it
Bible's
is.
3 now. Yeah. So yeah, we need to decide how we want to break that out.
Yeah, it looks like it's sort of stopping at the subfield L, the English, you know, which is great. We didn't really want that to be a part of it, but all of the other stuff that has to do with like versions, like King James and all, that's all after the subfield L. So I don't know if it's like an ordering of operations thing.
Yeah.
It's
well, we were specifically skipping some parts of the 130 because they didn't
right.
that we wanted to use to separate. So
yeah, and this uses obscure parts. All those religious texts have these funny standardized titles that this is it affects one single record, but I don't know, Bibles are pretty big, so it was going to be really visible.
And you might start a holy war by which cover you end up showing.
Yeah, that's honestly that's the first thing I thought too. Like, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So
have you gotten that feedback yet? Because I imagine there's going to be some people who are really particular about their King Jameses versus everything else.
So far, nobody's noticed it except me today.
And some may want the King Kong version.
Yeah. Any questions about the 130 or the grouping, or if you again see things that look like they shouldn't group or that should, like, let us know. It's way easier to update the record grouping again than it was. So this also came with some back end fun stuff that makes it easier for us to do cool things. But yeah, anything else? Oh, the other thing that it does is for the people that noticed when you manually grouped records together, sometimes it seemed semi-random when the one that you were grouping onto the other one would just periodically disappear from the index. That will no longer happen. So if you had a workflow that said group something and then automatically go through and force an index on the new thing, you don't have to do that anymore. So we can save a step. So
how long does it normally take for it? It's like basically if you do another search, you should be able to see it.
Up to 2 to 5 minutes. So whenever the next index runs. So generally faster, especially during the day when more things are changing. It's normally within 1 to 2 minutes. But
okay.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't disappear. It should just be look like it did before or look correct, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So let me know if that issue still occurs. But
okay.
Then for the people using default formats, we also updated those. So a lot of work on video games to be able to break out some of the new new and old game formats that we hadn't done, and also pull vinyl out and make sure that those are different from music recordings on CD. This won't have any impact if you're using if you're looking at item types or location codes or any of that to determine your formats. But if you're using the kind of default Aspen way of doing it that looks at all of the information in the bib record, we've got some more good stuff for you. So I think that's all we wanted to cover related to record grouping and formats and stuff, unless anybody else has questions on the last release or anything else. All right, I guess we can move on to our next topic.
Yes. Do we want to go ahead and talk about grouped work grouping changes before we get into the topic everyone's the most excited about, which is the app?
Yeah, I think that kind of covered the record grouping changes.
Okay.
Yeah, 245 subfield P as well as subfield N. The uniform title. Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's talk about the app.
Yeah. So I can start and then we can just kind of open it up. So we've had a lot of requests for developing an app to go along with Aspen. Over a number of years, we've had a couple of libraries develop apps that use Aspen on the back end. So Arlington Public Library built the first one. Their county IT built that. And then Christopher at Ajax Library built one as well against Koha and now against Aspen. So we've got a couple of different things that people have done. Christopher is going to help us out to help kind of migrate their app to be of use for general consumption based off of Aspen. So basically it would come with Aspen. We're still, well, basically what we want to do now is talk about what functionality you all want in an app. Like what are your wish lists? What are your must-haves? That kind of thing. So just who wants to start? I guess Christopher and is Jonathan here or somebody? Yeah, Jonathan, do you want to talk about what you've done so far? And then we can talk about wish lists kind of.
Yeah, sure. Well, we basically tried to make it as similar as we could to the web version of the catalog, just to kind of cut down on confusion, because we already thought that functionality was, tailored to people's needs. So we basically just try to incorporate as much as we could of that. So we have basic search functionality. When you do a search, you get the same results that you'd see in Aspen. We don't have as many filtering options on the search. We kind of kept that a little bit more streamlined. And you basically see the same things in the search, and then you drill down in each individual item, and then you can do formats and additions, and then most of the functionality like placing holds and looking at your account and all that stuff is basically just as close as we could get it to the way Aspen works. And we also had some non-Aspen things that we shoehorned in there, like we have events that we do through libcal, so they have an API, so we incorporated that stuff into our app. And I think also room reservations, again, because the libcal API allows that, so they built room reservation functionality in there. And then we have news and events, promotional things coming from our WordPress site, so that's also featured in there. So it's basically those three things. We have the Aspen side, the catalog side, the website, promotional news stuff, and then the events and reservations is most of the functionality that we have. The one big thing that we would like to see is user lists. That's the one thing that people keep asking us for that we haven't been able to do, because the the Aspen API doesn't have the full functionality there. So if that's on the table for development, that's one thing that we would like to see. But otherwise, people have been pretty happy. We get feedback. Other than the list thing, most of the feedback is just that it does what people want, and not too many features missing from it.
Can I add something to Jonathan's comments? So this is Rebecca at Arlington as well. One of the things that people comment to me about is how much they love the patron functionality in this. So we have the ability to have multiple accounts. I can't remember how many. So if you were like a family of 7, you could have all their accounts on one app. You can hop between them. You can check their holds, get the notifications for all of them. And the best thing is the library card functionality. So hopefully that's on my wish list for your app. Thanks.
Yeah, that's one thing I did forget to mention, that yes, we have the multiple accounts, so it saves, and once you type in your credentials, it retains those, and you can have multiple accounts in parallel. And then we do have push notifications. We have a couple different categories for those. I think we have them for overdues, for late fees, and for holds ready. So you can opt in for all those, and those also are all built off of Aspen functionality. So when it comes ready in Aspen, then we have, like, I think it's an Amazon cron job thing that will run and query that, and then push out the push notifications there, so you can get that stuff. And yeah, people really like that.
Hi, it's Rebecca Case from Arlington. I'm from the cataloging and metadata area. And one of the things that I think we would really be interested in with a development side on our app, or if Aspen is going to put one out, is some functionality with hypertext links and subjects and authors as well. So from within our app, if you're searching for a title, you've got the title that will pop up for you, but then you can't click on the author's name to see any other works by that author or any other similar subjects. So that would be something that we're interested in as well.
And you've got a pretty, do you know about how much of your, how many of your library users are using the app now?
Yeah, I don't know right off the top of my head. Just dig out some statistics, but we do have a pretty high number of them. I think we made it on, we kind of made it in a platform that's cross-platform, so it's pushed out to both Android and Apple, but it's not written natively in those. I think it's like Ionic, Angular, something like that, some version of that, and but yeah, we have like a pretty high number of, I think it's Apple is much higher than Android, but I don't remember what the numbers are off the top of my head.
Okay. Cool. Christopher, you want to go through yours, or I guess, yeah, let's do that, and then we can have people ask questions.
Sure. We started working on an app before we got onto Aspen, and I'm almost finished moving it over to Aspen now. It covers some of the functionality suggested here is fantastic, and I'm kind of excited to try to squeeze that in. But it does cover a lot of the card functionality. We had to push from our board from the original app that we had to kind of make it more Netflixed looking. So we have a lot, it's very visual. It's very, a lot of cover art. We've initially started with the basic functionality of doing some searching, placing some holds. Now that we're on to Aspen and squeezing that in, we're getting a lot more functionality. So we have better renewal functionality. We have better communication back with the end user as to what the renewal looked like, how it ended up working. And like Jonathan said, we had squeezed some of our, I think it was Jonathan, our library content in there too. So we have the ability to get to our publications. There's ability to call and email the library to handle some of the things like that. We do have somewhat curated lists in the search as well. So you can do what we're going to tailor as a quick search for you versus a keyword search. But yeah, it's moved along. We're also experiencing the almost 2-to-1 Apple to Android user download. But yeah, the usage is good. Our hold stats are off the wall. We're getting about 1,000 holds and 1,000 renewals done through the app each month, which has been pleasing for our CEO. And yeah.
Did you want demo or no?
Sure, if you
Okay.
want to see it. Don't judge my desktop. I think everybody can see that.
Yep.
Excellent. So I'll log out and start right from the beginning. So this is our app. We don't have the ability at this point to do multiple logins, but that wouldn't be difficult to do with what we're doing. So somebody logs in. We're going to ignore that error message because I can't figure out how to get rid of it yet. This is our Discover. This is the Netflix interface that our board was asking for. It is running currently off of, as of today, actually off of our browse categories. So we can pull the browse categories in, click on that, and we actually get a curated list base that it's very similar to what's on the website. To place a hold, we can click on the title itself, shows the title, gives us a summary with the ability, if it's longer, there's a read more. I can choose my branch that I'd like to pick up at, one of my 3 branches, and I can choose whether I want the DVD or the Blu-ray. So if I click on the Blu-ray, it'll come up and tell me I'm number 1 in the queue and tap to close. So the hold is placed there. The search functionality is so much faster under Aspen than it was under SIP, but dogs is kind of my go-to search here. Because I'm emulating, it's not quite the fastest, but it's much faster in real life. So again, it comes back with my search results. Again, my quick searches are curated from a list that I can generate on the fly, and the next time somebody loads this page, it will change. But if we want to click on our cookies thing, it does a search for baking, I believe, with the same ability to click through and place a hold. The card functionality is there, and it scans through to both our optical readers and on our self-check. This was important to us because it allowed us to authenticate the user through an app, so we know that at least the person has the username and correct PIN to be using this barcode. The account functionality is here, and it comes up, it gives me what my name is, my barcode, how many items I have checked out. This I've found today when I was showing Addie is not correct, but we'll get that in a second. The items I have checked out are here. I have the ability to renew 1 item on its own, which is going to fail because I believe I have this checked out enough times. I've hit my renewal limit. I also have the ability to renew all, which will tell me that I believe 5 of the 10 items I have checked out have renewed because the other 5 have also hit the renew limit. The system will now tell me as well, and this is new for the Aspen upgrade, it will show me what my holds look like. I have 1 pickup here at Maine. The goal is to put push notifications into this at some point. And like Jonathan had mentioned, ours is written in React Native, which is also like a write once, deploy as many times as you want. So we have a consistent look between both the Android and the Apple system. Our more tab across the bottom is what I was talking about as well, is it allows us to put in it's a link between our virtual and our physical. So we have the ability to see our what's on program calendar, visit our website, see our catalog. There is the ability to contact us as well. So we can have the ability to call, email, or visit the website, and it shows what their branch hours look like today. And then news is just a way for us to get information out that we're opening up from complete shutdown from COVID. Our library's fines free, and here's our new catalog, check it out. I believe this actually has a clickable link, which it does, and will allow us to actually navigate to the link. So that is, I guess, where we're at with our base app at this point. I'm hoping to have that deployed to the store in the coming weeks. And then I'm going to work on getting it Aspenized for even further for Aspen.
Cool. Thanks, Christopher. What questions do people have? And then we can kind of talk wish lists, but of the stuff that you saw. First, let's all applaud because that's awesome work from everybody. Those are both really cool apps. And then, yeah, questions. Rebecca. Oh, is a clap. You can clap on Zoom. The things I learned. Sorry, I'm easily entertained.
Have you done any of the integrations, Christopher?
So the integrations work beautifully for Overdrive. I have the ability to do a full checkout, and I believe you can actually, through Aspen, view it through the app, or at least get a link to get to the point where that is. Hoopla has been a bit of a hot mess at this point, so I just kind of ignore it. So if the item type is Hoopla, it just kind of goes to the next one. That is on my list of things to figure out. But at this point, I'm looking at it from the patrons don't see it, so we're okay at this point. Other than that, we don't have any other integrations, and I think our integrations are a little bit different for the Canadian libraries. So I would be working at trying to figure out how, that would be one of the things to look at, is how we incorporate some of the other systems in that either our library doesn't have or our library doesn't have access to.
I see some hand raising. James and Margaret.
I'm really excited about the push notifications that you mentioned because from the support chair, there's a lot of questions about notifications and where did that hold message go and everything. And I'm really looking forward to the future where you got a hold push notification on this. And oh boy, you can just manage the notification settings on the end user's device and no more wondering about, did it get through the SMS email gateway or what were their email settings? Just show me what your notification settings are on the app. You turn them off, that's why.
Yeah.
It doesn't always solve every problem because we do have occasional issues where one of the platforms will change something will change on the back end and then the notifications break and have to go and fix it. So it doesn't always make everything go away, but yeah, it is nice.
James?
Mr. Zorn, two other related to integrations questions. Do you have any side loads?
Into Aspen?
Yeah. 17 side loads for various things that aren't like integrated with patron functions, but just do, basically we have a file of bibliographic records that get loaded in there that we don't have in our ILS because it's just clutter in the ILS.
We do have side loads. I, to be honest, haven't thought of testing those yet, but yeah. I've written it down and I will test it tomorrow.
Yeah, and so it's that handoff, like how graceful is the handoff from the app to however the browser or the other app. And then do you do online payments?
We don't yet. That was one of the first things on our first iteration of the app that we were asked about, but we don't handle that yet. It can be something we can try to squeeze in as well.
Yeah, and again, it's all about the handoff. What does the handoff look like? And as far as side loads go, I think for us right now, the most important would be LinkedIn Learning. Even though, we can't get the handoff right on a desktop either.
What other questions?
I know y'all have some app desires.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to know, would this be linkable to like Google Maps so you could show where your libraries are? And, especially in Arlington because we are close closely related to one another. You know, we're like, what, 1.5 miles from any branch at any time in our county. So, you know, if like one branch is closed, you know, or they could click on it, see the map, click on it, see that it's closed, they could click on another one and see if it's open. But some kind of integration that way.
Yeah, the only thing I know of for Google Maps is they're now charging, which is kind of why we don't have it in Aspen anymore. But
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can figure that out and see. Like, I imagine it's possible to do, but I think Christopher and Jonathan would know better if it's possible. I think it's possible.
Yeah, we do have some geolocation. It's been a while since I've looked at that part of our app. We do have where it'll sort the locations by which one is closest to you, where I think we just put in the whatever map or the coordinates, the latitude and longitude coordinates for each branch. And, you know, because Arlington is pretty small, sometimes it's like a difference between, you know, 0.1 mile here and 0.2 miles there. Yeah. So it's not great for, you know, the distances aren't that great, but we do have that. I don't know that I guess we have some kind of a mapping thing too, but definitely do a geolocation. That's for sure. That's part of ours.
Yeah, I was gonna throw out the other thing with geolocation is I know a big desire of our libraries is a self-check function through the app, and that would sort of rely on, or could rely on geolocation and actually being in the library to be able to do that.
That's
interesting. Yeah, that reminded me. We do have we also have a barcode scanner thing in our app where you can scan something and it'll look up based on the ISBN. We try to think of things that some capabilities of the device so we could extend the catalog functionality. So yeah, geolocation and barcode scanner, and I think those are mainly the two, and then the push notification things that we can do in the app that you can't do through the web client as well as easily.
Jonathan, I think you and I had talked some years ago about you know, patron self-check in the app. Is that available in the Arlington app?
No, the only thing we have is we do have the barcode in it, you know, is in an image form that's scannable on, at least at one time it was scannable by self-checkout thing. So you could use your device in lieu of your card, but that's the closest thing to a self-check that we have going.
Gotcha. And so I'm just wondering, like, you know, I remember many years ago the thought of like having a patron self-check like on their device was, you know, sounded like a great thing. And then I'm trying to remember who it is I've talked to that had it, like, and had it implemented. But it was, but what they found was that it wasn't used in the library. It was used by patrons who accidentally took things home. And when they realized they had the extra things that they had home, that's when they used it. And, you know, that being said, the use was still like next to zero.
Yeah, we're pending some bugs being resolved, about to have self-check functionality in our app. And I'm a terrible person and I just really want us to go to the Aspen app, but that doesn't leave here. So I'm hoping that nobody uses it and it's not popular and we don't need it at all. Well, I guess we shall see.
Yeah, the thing I've always heard with self-check, or the complication, I mean, one, ILS support for if we can check things out easily through APIs is hit and miss. So we might have to get a little creative there. And then the other concern is always, how do you deactivate gates and do the RFID stuff? And I don't know how people go about that.
I don't know either. Luckily, not too many of our libraries have RFID. It's just like I can't remember how many, probably 10, 15.
And the big fancy gates in our main and branches are really just traffic counters. That's it. They don't do anything else.
Eric, did you have a question?
Yeah, it was just a really simple hope, and I think they kind of mentioned it already, but it would just be nice for us in the app to be able to store their card, because a lot of folks just misplace that a lot, and we have a replacement fee on it of $1, and then they never have $1. And so I would rather be able to give them this option when they sign up where it's like, and get this app and you'll never be without your card again. So it sounded like that was already something that was happening. So that was really my only 2 cents there. I was just hoping that'd be a thing because Aspen has that functionality. So I already pull it up on my phone, just going through a browser. So having it in the app would be nice. But then the other part was that I was just kind of visualizing was like the handoffs between the e-materials, that would just be really cool. Because if you've already got them installed, you click it, and if it could, where it just kind of sends you to it where you've already checked it out, yes, but then like, oh, you have the app, here's the book, and it's just, and they're done and they're off. That was just kind of my other thing. So I'm just very excited. So everything's great.
That sounds like the new Aspen slogan.
I'm just excited and everything's great. Hashtag Aspen 2021.
What other ideas do people have for things they want in an app? Or like, does this cover, like, if it had, say, what Christopher showed you today, how many people would be interested in getting a version to use at their library?
I'd be fine with half of that.
And if your video's off, we can't see your hand being raised.
Right. See thumbs up.
Sam has a thumbs up.
Got a thumbs up. Hey, amazing work. You guys have really done some fantastic things with your apps. Way to go. I think that ultimately my pipe dream, hopefully not a pipe dream, is that it's not a handoff down the road, but it's that Aspen has enough on the back end that if I've checked out from Overdrive or Hoopla or whatever the big ones are, that I can just stay in that Aspen app and not have to leave it. I would love to get to the point where I don't really have to differentiate from my patron what app provider this is coming from. But I don't know if that's where the marketplace is going and how much effort it's worth doing that.
And so I think that Tara, did I pronounce Tara right?
Almost. Tara.
Tara, okay.
That's okay.
Okay. That you expressed that, a couple of gatherings ago as well. And something that I'm very interested in is what I call the triumvirate of the catalog, that we have discovery, delivery, and display. And one route to that would be integration with Simply.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I always joke the most, like, I think people mainly only use our app just to have a library card on their phone. So, yeah, like you said, James, is having like half that. Yeah, that would be great. Like just getting a start and getting people on it would be awesome. Even with just a core set of features.
I'm still dealing with people that don't know that we have a website that they can log into from outside the building.
But strangely, they'll probably find your app, so even if they can't find their website. Okay. So it sounds like we've got really good interest in an app. I guess there's a couple. So we will at some point now or maybe later ask for people that would be interested in being beta partners. If there's a few, we would probably start with 2 or 3 that would be able to work with us to make sure that, yes, we can figure out how to upload these things to app stores and all that kind of good stuff. So if you are interested in being a beta partner or a testing partner with us, let us know and we can start looking into what that all will involve. I guess one more thing, so kind of from a design standpoint, there have been two kinds of library apps built in the past. There are the ones where you go and download like Libby, and everybody downloads Libby, and then from Libby you say, here's my library. And we can go kind of that model, or we can go the branded per library and per library within the consortium, so that like Sam at Uinta County, you'd have one, and Wasatch could have another, and Duchesne could have another, or any of your consortium members could have their own app. Do people have strong preferences one way or the other, or is it a deal breaker one way or the other? So like, we won't bother to install the app if it is one app like Libby that you download and then pick your library. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's not a deal breaker, I think, for Nashville. We have, I think that we would be really interested in targeting, our partnership with the schools. The brand there is Limitless Libraries. And so we would probably want to go with that brand for the students. But that's like off the top of my head. My guess is ultimately it's not a deal breaker.
I guess just throwing out, I know I think for each library to have their own app does involve some work on their part, like they may have to have an Apple. I know like we had to sign up for our own like Apple developer license, and so there might be, I can see that there might be libraries that really want their own branded app, and that would be sort of a deal breaker for them. But then I could also see that there are libraries that maybe just don't have the ability on their own and to sort of manage what comes along with having your own branded app in the App Store and sort of the maintenance that would involve on their end.
Okay. So we basically, oh, go ahead, Rebecca, are you gonna?
Yeah, I was going to ask, could you, I've never made an app, so pardon me, but could you have both? So for those of us with smaller systems that we only need one app versus someone in a consortia who might want one branded app for the consortia, and then you pick your branch or your system from that location. Is it, I don't know how difficult that would be to develop two different ones like that. Just a suggestion.
I think we're going to find out. So some of these are just the early design decisions, and we might start with, we've got one app that then you pick your library, and then it evolves to, okay, now you can brand it. And we'll just kind of see what's easy and hard to build and that kind of thing. But yeah, good to know that it's not totally a deal breaker either way. And some of it might be, so right now, so far we're kind of thinking that the support would be bundled in with Aspen, so it would come included with regular support contracts. That might change. Yeah, so the ever unpopular, hey, let's not charge anything for this. That may change. So it may be that, hey, with if you do have your own app, we have to charge something just because it takes us a bunch of extra work. So that could be an option. So we will see how things go and how much of a pain this is. I have seen some apps where like you could have the publisher be Bywater Solutions, but the actual app name be your library. So we could have a Salina Public Library app published by Bywater Solution, for example. And that could be an option. I want to make sure we have some time for open time, but The only other thing that I did want to mention is I think, so kind of the plan is to have this all really integrated with Aspen. So a lot of the setup and configuration stuff hopefully can pull like colors and stuff from Aspen so that you can change your brand once and or change your theme once and have that apply to the app in addition to everything else. So any other closing comments? We could go to open time. Yeah, Margaret.
Mark, since you did mention Libby and being a multi-library one Libby app user myself, I can't say that I love the fact that I have to switch libraries even if I want to search my term across multiple libraries. And I'd be curious to see how that plays out in, say, consortial libraries, and depending on the level of integration of your catalog there is, because it's just more work for me when I find out, this is not available at library A, let me switch to library B and repeat all my work. So
exactly.
yeah, if that's bridged via Aspen, cool. Better than Libby.
I go straight to overdrive.com to check all my libraries that way to see which ones have it. And then I go to the libraries that have it and then still have to check it that way. Because doing it within the app is just annoying because I'm hitting libraries that don't have it.
And can I just complain about the lack of search persistence of a term in Libby's app? Okay, I'm done.
We won't replicate that. So. Yeah, the searching multiple sites is always tricky.
Can I add one more thing to the request list?
Sure.
I would like the ability to share, just a share button out of the catalog. That's something that I'm missing, where I can like send, to Keisha and say, hey, Keisha, take a look at this book from the app. And I can't do that right now. So that would be super useful.
Cool.
Thanks.
And also, we've talked a lot about multiple accounts as a parent with multiple kids, each with their cards, and trying to do the on the pad reading in the evening before bedtime. It's nice to have that conglomeration in one place rather than switching between the accounts, especially in Hoopla. Like, wait, who did we check that out for? Okay, hold on.
Yeah. All right. Any other closing comments? Should we go into open time? Whatever anybody wants to.
Aspen rocks. Bywater team, y'all rock.
Thank you.
Y'all rock.
We'll have fun, yeah. We have awesome partners.
I've got one that's kind of off topic.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like with Koha, the intellectual property stuff lives in a trust. Has anything been done to secure like the Aspen Discovery brand name in such a thing? Or, I mean, I know it's open source, but someone had posted that picture of the Aspen Discovery perfume or whatever, and it got me thinking, hang on a second, is this real?
It's real and it's prior art.
I think we lost Nate, but he'd be a good one to ask about that. But trademarks are fun, as I've been learning, because probably we did not file a trademark for Aspen Discovery as a perfume while it was potentially being filed for a library software tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I will follow up with Nate and Brendan.
Anyway, just wondering,
My guess is no, but.
Because I mean, I'd be all on board with a new name if we needed one.
Yeah.
Before too long.
And I do think that opens up a broader question about, governance and, you mentioned search persistence and overdrive. Well, there's, with open source projects, governance is a thing, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different models. do we want to have a gathering to talk about governance, or
I know my colleague Brian Jones would.
My former colleague Christopher Davis would.
Yeah. And
I
we
think
can
my
always
boss would.
and we could also do that as a side topic sometime if people want to. So
Hey, we just said enough names for a set of officers.
Excellent. Volunteer them while they're not here to object.
yeah.
Vote them all in. There is a nice crossover between people involved with, say, Koha US, which is a nonprofit representing Koha libraries, and people adopting Aspen Discovery. It wouldn't hurt to say that organization or other nonprofit library organizations get some of their ideas, successes, failures, things to talk about. If there's a few people that are willing to do a little bit of that research or invite some folks to guest speak at a discovery gathering along the way.
What other topics? Anybody have anything else they want to bring up?
What do y'all want to talk about next month?
How successful y'all were at protecting us from Zoom bombs today.
That was hard.
Yeah, we've been talking about that a fair bit. So I suppose as a group, what do you think would be appropriate for letting folks in, but making sure any people that are looking for a thrill and want to disrupt our meeting stay out? Any suggestions or tools that you've leveraged at your workplaces to achieve that?
Waiting room.
So the issue with the waiting room today, and if you want to talk more to it, Addie, you can, or I can, but it's just hard because we are inviting people that, like, you all have big libraries, and since anybody can attend, we don't necessarily know who all's going to be here. We know the familiar faces, but we know there were a few people that didn't make it in because we were being extra cautious. So we can ask everybody to say, hey, when you join, make sure to join with your name and your library. Although apparently once you join, you can't rename until you're actually in the meeting. So that doesn't help. We can publish the link without the password and just have a known password that we give people, and then kind of forego the waiting room. We can play it risky and just let everybody in and not have, okay, not that way. So any preferences, or we'll just pick something? I'm kind of drawn to the idea of, like, let's just publish it without the password and we will make sure you all know the password somehow.
There's the air of a secret club that way, which is really fun.
Yeah.
If you want to know the password, you have to join the Slack channel. That's the key to get in. So there it is, everybody.
I think that's the one issue with the password, that we don't know if y'all are regularly on Slack versus the listserv versus maybe neither. So, I mean, we want you all to be on those things, but I don't know that we can verify it. Exactly, Jeff.
Anything else?
Well, we can continue to brainstorm, and if anyone has a great idea, let us know. My dogs are playing behind me, so I'm gonna mute.
Hey, I could probably score some old cipher discs from the Heritage Museum here in town.
We can pass out the little USB dongles that you had to plug into your computer.
Oh, everybody gets an authenticator app and then you have to
Yeah.
sign in with the code. It's all
Yeah.
time-based.
Let's see. Next, if there's nothing else, next deployment will probably be in 2 weeks. It is going to have at least a lot of improvements for account functionality. In order to make that work faster, we have some libraries that have loads of things checked out to patrons. So we want it to be able to work with 90 or 100 things checked out and tons of holds and that kind of thing. It's just really slow right now. Or occasionally, if you have enough stuff, crashes. Well, it doesn't crash, it doesn't respond. So we'll be working on that for sure. That also opens up the possibility, if I know what you have checked out and on hold all the time, cached and not going and fetching it all the time, I can potentially in search results and full record view, instead of giving you a place hold button, I can say, you're already on hold for this, or this is already checked out to you, which would be kind of cool. We will see if that gets in or not. The other thing we are doing is working on a Polaris implementation, which should have at least version 1 of that rolled out within the next 2 weeks. So, and then of course we've got lots and lots of tickets that we are working on from everybody. So we are constantly looking at those. So there will be lots of little things fixed as well. And then we'll probably do the next lunch and learn. What would it be, Monday the 22nd? And then probably deploy the 24th, 25th. Yeah. Any questions on deployment stuff or functionality coming soon? There was a question in Slack about it. Is anybody using Horizon under the hood? There were lots of people that have used old. So Aspen grew out of Pica. Pica had three or four different customers using Horizon. So nobody currently using Horizon, but definitely an easy thing to add back in if we want to ever. So if you have libraries that you're friends with that are using Horizon or anything else that you would like to point them to Aspen, feel free. We'll integrate. So, all right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.